About this one, it's interesting. It's pretty simple tools, right, on the profiles. It's just usual password policies, login IP ranges, login hours, and usually the Salesforce admins not so particularly understand how to configure it and just skip this part. Maybe some default settings, it's okay. But actually, you need to keep in mind that, yeah, it's a simple tools, but they are really effective. For example, for password policies, you will keep your passwords and users in safe, because users then should have a complex passwords, for example, with some special characters. They should update it at regular basis. Login IP ranges, it's important for organizations who have, for example, internal network or VPN or something like that. If you have it, probably it's a good idea to use login IP ranges. People outside of your internal network cannot just log in then, and it's really useful. And about login hours, in some organizations, it might be very useful to just limit access to your data from your employees, let's say, to only working hours. And all of this you can set not like a globally, but you can also put it very granularly to profiles, to some group of users. For example, you have some partner users, and you can just have some limitations for them, etc.
Yeah, and I think when you said that this is simple, but it's incredibly powerful, I think that's the most important thing, and it often gets overlooked. And we'll frequently go in and do audits, look at client accounts, and say, well, why, if everybody is coming into your office or using a VPN, why are you not locking this out so you don't have to deal with a threat actor from somewhere else in the world coming in? So let's keep moving forward here and talk a little bit about how you identify some of these things.
This one is kind of quick. So again, you need to go through all of your profiles in the audit process and understand how those simple stuff configured. And actually, it's not about just looking through those profiles. You also need to go to, for example, stakeholders or people who can understand, like a grouping of an audience of your organization, and ask how it should be really configured, and just mark some inconsistencies there, or maybe provide some additional advices how to configure it. Additionally, maybe again, IP ranges was not configured, but you have internal network. It's a good idea to improve then your security and provide configuration for IP ranges there. Also, there is a two-factor authentication, and nowadays Salesforce just enforced it. So you already have an enforced two-factor authentication. Probably you already have a Salesforce authenticator in this case configured for your users. But again, for some organizations, as I remember from my experience, Salesforce kind of delayed this feature just to keep, I don't know, maybe some old policies there. But if you have this situation, it's probably a good idea to enable it at some point and just keep your data more secure.
Is there a way to limit Salesforce access to the domain join systems rather than by IP address? So earlier we had a conversation about time access and IP range access. That way, if somebody wasn't in the office or they weren't on a VPN, they couldn't access it. Is there a way to do that by domain join systems?
If you don't have some static IP, right, and if you want to limit it with domains, it might be a trouble, because if you don't have some DNS configurations, right, for domains, for example, maybe you can have some dynamic DNS. It's better to have static IP for login IP ranges, because if you have dynamic one and you have a domain which goes from one IP to another in some period of time, it might be a complex situation, because then you need to go through all of your profiles and change IP, because there is no possibility. It's like a filtering IP format. You cannot just put there some custom domain. But with the custom solutions, actually you can automatize this with some deployments. For example, your IP for domain was changed, and in this time you can run some automatizations, or I don't know, if it's some release, for example, or something, you can bring it into the CI/CD, for example, and just deploy it to your organization? Well, it's interesting question, really, because yeah, it's just a login IP range, because it's like a from IP to IP. Usually, if you have only one IP, right, then you put their start IP address and end IP address the same, but not like a custom domain. Then you need some tricks there.
Okay.
You can have some route tables, for example, if you just get one static IP and this like a list of dynamics, and you can just connect them with the route tables. But it's more about internal network.